Today we are going to solve LeetCode again. Today's question is employee importance. So it's an easy question. Let's look at the question. So you're given a data structure of employee information, which includes the employee's unique ID, importance value, and direct subordinates ID. Okay. For example, employee 1 is the leader of employee 2, and employee 2 is the leader of employee 3. They have importance value 15, 10, and 5 respectively. Then employee 1 has a data structure like 1, 15, 2. So it means ID, importance value, and subordinates. Okay? And the employee 2 has a 2, 10 list of 3. And employee 3 has a 3, 5 employee list. Note that although employee 3 is also a subordinate of employee 1, the relationship is not direct. Okay. Now, given the employee information of a company and an employee ID, you need to return the total importance value of this employee and all their subordinates. Okay. So we are going to given the data of employees, bunch of employee ID, and then we are going to pick one ID, get the importance, and then you want to eventually you want to get the total importance of someone and also all the people below this person. Okay, so let's take a look at the example. So we have this example. But actually in this question, because we're using the employee data, so we are given a class of employees. So I'm getting this data as well. So let's take a look at this example. So we have this employee data. So ID1 has 5 important value, and then it has 2 and 3 subordinates. So it has subordinate. So 2 has importance of 3, and it doesn't have any subordinate anymore. And then 1 also has subordinate 3, and 3 has importance value of 3. Okay. So like this. So this is the data structure, and then we are going to give them the ID 1. So we have to get the sum of total importance from this person below. So in this case, total importance is 5 plus 3 plus 3, and which is 11. And that's the answer of the question. So now we're going to think about how we can solve this question. Correction. So what we have to do is we get the ID, and then you get the importance, and then we have to initialize total importance. I cannot type importance. By that, the given ID, and then we go to subordinate. Right. And then when we go to the subordinate, we have to use the ID again and then get the importance, and then increment total importance this time, and then we're going to go to subordinate again. So for the next, right. So basically we are going to repeat this process until no more subordinates for the nets. Eventually we're not going to have subordinate like this. 2 doesn't have any subordinates, so we have empty list. So this is what we have to do to implement. What we have to do is we want to have a nice data structure to get those information. If we have ID, we can easily get the importance and subordinates. And also we want to repeat the same process somehow. Repeat both. So we are going to start looking at this data structure first. So what we have to do is we have to make ID to data structure. And what we have to use is we want to use Hashmap. So in this example, suppose we have this kind of data. The map is going to be like 1 to the employee 1, and then 2 to the employee low E 2, and then 3 to employee 3. Right, so in this case, if we use 1, we can have employee 1, and then if we use the instance variable of this employee object, for example, if we use importance, we can have the importance of employee 1, which is 5. So this is a nice data structure. This line. So that's it for the first data structure. And what we have to implement for the second part is to repeat this. So basically what we have to do is we're going to just repeat the same process. So it's nice to have a function because you want to do the same thing again. So you run the function, go to the subordinate. In the subordinate, you run the function again. So basically you run function, inside the function, you run the same function. So it's we are going to make a recursive function. And then we can achieve this direction of program. So now I think we can kind of make a simulation to check what's going to happen in the program. So simulation. Okay. So I want to use this example. So in the LeetCode question, we are going to given this list of employee and also ID integer. So employee is going to be list of those data. And then we also have an ID. Okay. So we starting from the ID 1, and then we want to get the total. We want to get the importance first. So importance is it has a 5 from here, and then we are going to make a total importance. This is first person, so it's 5, and then we go get the subordinates, and 1 has 2 and 3. Okay, so go to subordinates. Right, and now suppose we started from 2. So ID is equals 2, and the importance, his importance is 3. I'm looking at here, 3, and then we are going to increment total importance by 3, so it's going to be 8. And then we check the subordinates, and here 2 doesn't have any subordinates, so it's empty case, empty. So no more subordinates. Okay. But this is the case of ID2. But ID1 has additional subordinates, so we have to check that as well. So ID3 has important 3 and empty subordinates. So importance with 3, and then we are going to increment the total importance. This is going to be 11, and then subordinates is empty again. So in this case, ID3 no more subordinates, so we don't have to repeat anymore. And then also ID1 also no more subordinates. So here we're going to stop this repeating recursive function. So at the end this is the end, and then we return the total importance, which contains 11. So this is going to be the answer, and we can get the output 11. So I think now we are ready to write in a program. So I'm going to start writing a program. Oh! So we're going to make a public class solution. So in my case, it's 690, and we are given data structure employee. So I'm going to make inner class to test the data, static class, and I have to import the list, import Java util list, so no more errors. And I want to test it, and it's nice to have a constructor, so I'm gonna make a constructor here. So make employee and then I'm gonna just put the order variable to the argument. It's an int id, int importance, and then list of integers, just coordinates. Okay, and then this constructor is nothing complicated. It just set those variables. ID, this, importance, and then this subordinates to be subordinates. Okay. So now we are. Oh, okay. Like this. Okay. So now we are ready to write the actual methods to solve the LeetCode question. So what's the method? This method, public int, the importance. Okay. Okay. So what we have to do is let's check the Google Doc about the direction. So we have to make a hash map. So let's make a hash map. And actually this hash map is going to be used in this recursive function. So it's nice to have an instance variable of this data structure. So I'm going to put here, it's an internal use, so it's private. So hash map of ID to employee data. So it's an integer to employee. And then I'm going to just call it map, and then I have to import on Java util Hashmap. Okay. And then first I have to set the data. So the map to be the object of Hashmap. I'm gonna make it, and then I'm gonna put the data here. So using the for loop, and then so it's an integer to employee. So integer ID in the map. No, it's something strange. Oh! No, it's no, that's wrong. That's no. We have to use this given data. This is wrong. So so what we have to do is open up the given data, which is the list of employee. So employee in the employees. Okay, I'm doing good. So I'm going to put the data inside the map. So I'm going to put the employee. So this employee object has the instance variable ID. So I can use ID, and then just put the employee data. Okay. So now the map is filled. Maybe we can check now. So just temporarily just return 0 to avoid errors. And I'm gonna make a testing method. So public static void main string args. Okay. And then I'm gonna I want to check the data, so I'm gonna just init temp.out.print and the map. Okay. So I have to make I want to use the get importance method, so I have to make an object. So solution new solution 690. Okay. And then I'm gonna just use that method, so get importance. But to use this method, I have to make an employee's data in an integer. So I'm gonna make it now. I can use example. So in this case, employee E1 is a new of employee, and then ID is, I'm using this, so ID is 1, and the importance is 5, and then we have to put the list of subordinates, so arrays has list, and 1 has 2 and 3 subordinates, and I have to import the Java util arrays. Okay, and I'm going to just repeat this to the other employees too. So like this, and employee 2 has ID 2, and then the importance is 3 and subordinates is empty. So importance is 3 and subordinates is empty. And then the final employee is 3 and importance is 3. And 3, ID is 3, importance 3, and no subordinates. Okay, and then we are given ID is 1, and then we put those data as list 1, 2, 3, and ID. Okay, I'm running now, and then this is gonna give you the reference value. So actually we cannot check whether this is employee 1 or 2, but I can see 1, 2, 3 here, so I kind of assume this was fine. So I'm gonna just move on. So here we actually are making this the second point, repeating recursive function. So this recursive function is gonna give us the answers. So I'm gonna just call it repeat, and then we start from the ID. So we have to implement this repeat method in this class. So that's just the internal use. So I'm gonna use private, and then this is eventually going to give us the total importance. So the type is int, and then we're gonna I'm gonna call this repeat, and then the arguments is ID. Int ID. Okay, so what we have to do is look at this. Get ID, get importance, implement total importance, go to subordinate. This is something we have to implement. So first we have to get the employee data. Employee from, we have a map. It's a hash map. So we use the ID. Map is an integer to employee, so we use ID to get the employee. And then next we have to get the importance. So importance is an integer, so importance, we get employee from importance. Okay, but eventually we're going to implement this data, so I'm going to directly call total importance. And then below, we're going to implement this by going to each subordinate. In that case, we use for loop. So employee, this data has a subordinates instance variable from here, and that's the list of integers. So we're going to open up this subordinate. So in that case, integer subordinates. Subordinate ID, that's an integer, so it's ID. So here we have a map. No, we making this recursive repeat function, so we can use repeat again, and then use subordinate ID, and this is going to give us importance as an output. So every time we can increment total importance like this, and then we are gonna just return importance. We can do this. It is because this for loop. Eventually, if we get data, go to subordinate, and get data, go to subordinate, and eventually the data we're going to face the empty list. So this is going to be eventually empty list, and if for loop has empty list, Java will not run the for loop. Yeah, so I think that's the part. Eventually, we're not gonna run repeat. So even though we use repeat inside repeat, eventually we're not gonna run this for loop. So eventually, this repeat recursive call is going to be ended. So we can test that now. So this method is gonna give us answer. So I wanna test it here. So test out int answer. Okay, so I'm gonna run it. Please give me answer. I'm just wishing this. Yeah, so I'm running now, and this is gonna give you 11. It seems to be fine. I want to check the other test data if we have. So we have example 1, but we don't have example 2. So I'm gonna just directly run this in this LeetCode. So we have to copy and paste is from here to there. From here to there. But we have employee class outside of this function, so we don't need this. This is also not necessary. Okay, so we can run this. Okay, so successful. So yeah, so today we use Java to solve the LeetCode question, employee importance. It was the easy question. We use the Hashmap and also recursive function to solve this question. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.